Hey Book Dragons, glad you're here. Thanks for joining me for another video. We're going to get right to it here. Let's go. So it is February, and I am participating in February She Wrote, which highlights female authors and the books that they have written. So I wanted to take the opportunity today to talk about several female authors that I think you should read. Now, this is a list that's divided up between authors that I have read and I highly recommend you read them, and some authors that I have not read yet, but I am strongly anticipating the time when I do get to read them because I've heard so many good things about these authors. So we're going to get right to this list, and I hope you check out some of these authors that I talk about today, and they've just got some phenomenal stuff out there. So the first one I'm going to start with today is N.K. Jemisin. She is a female author of color, and she has just an enormous catalog of books that she's written, one of which is her newest one, The City We Became. She's got the Broken Earth trilogy, which is currently the only one that I have actually read, but I highly recommend it. And the Inheritance trilogy, starting with The 100,000 Kingdoms, and it has two more books in this series as well. She's just very prolific. One thing that really sticks out to me about N.K. Jemisin is not only all of the books that she has written, but her activism in the world at large. You know, talking about causes that are important to minorities and giving voices to the voiceless, things like that. She really works hard in her activism to bring up subjects that not a lot of people talk about, and I really like that about N.K. Jemisin. She is a fantastic author, at least in my personal opinion. Having only read the Broken Earth trilogy, I think she is worth checking out. I do have The City We Became. I have not read it yet, but it's high on my list of books to get to. The next author that I want to talk about is Agatha Christie. Now, of course, Agatha Christie is no longer with us, but she is the queen of mystery, and for very good reason. She wrote numerous books. I mean, she probably wrote like 50 different books, maybe more than that, in the mystery genre. She is my absolute favorite mystery writer. Yes, you heard that right. Even more so, I might add, than Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Agatha Christie still takes the cake as my favorite mystery writer. Some of the characters that she has created are some of the most beloved in mystery. Hercule Poirot, Jane Marple, Tommy and Tuppence Beresford. There's just so many lovable characters and so many great stories that she has written. I highly recommend that you check out Agatha Christie. Just a phenomenal author, and I can't say enough good about her stuff. So there you go. The next one I want to talk about is Erin Morgenstern. Now, Erin has only written 2 books so far. I understand that she's working on another one. But The Night Circus is my second favorite book of all time. The Starless Sea, which was my top favorite book of 2021, I still say it's a toss-up for second favorite book of all time between that and The Night Circus. I just have a hard time choosing, but I'm still picking The Night Circus as my second favorite book of all time. So Starless Sea takes third place, but I might just go ahead and put it at 2.5 or whatever. I don't know, but Erin just has a brilliant imagination, and it shines through in her stories. She has a knack for writing some of the most memorable, whimsical characters in all of fantasy literature. I'm just constantly amazed by her talent, and I highly recommend that you check her out if you have not. Definitely start with The Night Circus. It's not a series by any means, so you could read The Starless Sea first if you want to, but I like to start in publication order most times, so The Night Circus is a fantastic read, guys. Highly recommend that you check out Erin Morgenstern. And next is Catherine Arden. She is the author of the Winter Night trilogy, the first book being The Bear and the Nightingale. And if the rest of her books are as good as The Bear and the Nightingale was, I'm easily going to have a new favorite author on my hands. I was really impressed with The Bear and the Nightingale. And since I've only read that one book, you may say, well, why do you have her on the list? Because I think she is worth checking out. Catherine Arden just really impressed me with her writing style, her prose, her character work is just really top notch. And I loved the way that she handled Russian folklore. I was just fascinated reading this book, so highly recommend you check out Catherine Arden. And the next author we're going to talk about is Ursula K. Le Guin. She, of course, is also no longer with us, unfortunately, but she is extremely prolific, well known in the fantasy community. She's won several awards for her fantasy books, the most popular of which are the Earthsea books, The Wizard of Earthsea, and the other books in the series as well. She also wrote a book called The Left Hand of Darkness, which was a really unique standout in science fiction literature. From what I understand, I have not read The Left Hand of Darkness yet, but I understand that it is one of her must-read books. And Ursula Le Guin was another one that was just really outspoken on social issues that were important to her, like women's rights, a lot of issues that dealt with women in particular, but she also spoke out on a number of other fronts on social issues, and I just am really impressed with everything that I've read from her and of her. Her personal character is just outstanding, so I just highly recommend you check out Ursula K. Le Guin. And also, I think you should check out Margaret Weis. Now, most people are familiar with Margaret Weis from her pairing with Tracy Hickman to write the original Dragonlance novels and also the Deathgate cycle, the Rose and the Prophet series. But she's written other books and articles and things just by herself. My understanding is that she is the writer of the duo when it comes to her and Tracy Hickman. He was more of the idea guy, and she was the actual writer of the stories. That's my understanding. She's just phenomenal. I highly recommend that you check her out. I'm reading the Deathgate cycle right now. It's one of my favorite series. I have not read the Dragonlance books, but I hope to in the future. So I really enjoyed what I've seen from her so far. Fonda Lee is another one. She wrote the Greenbone Saga, Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy. I have not read Jade Legacy yet, but I really enjoyed the first two entries in the saga, and I can't wait to see how she ends the finale. And I will look forward to reading more of her books in the future. Hopefully she will write more outside the Greenbone Saga. Maybe she'll even add some things into the Greenbone Saga down the road. That would be totally cool. But she's really, really good at weaving a unique fantasy story If you're not familiar with the Greenbone saga, it's set in modern day. It's more of an urban fantasy, but it blends an Asian culture with a story that hits a lot of the same beats as classic mafia stories, The Godfather, things like that. It's just a really fantastic story. I've been loving it so far. So check out Fonda Lee. And another one is Suzanne Collins. She is the author of the Hunger Games series. Many of you may have read that series already. I really enjoyed the Hunger Games series, and I think she's definitely an author that deserves the limelight and deserves to be read more. Now, of course, the Hunger Games is kind of more of a YA story, which is fine. I enjoy some YA stories, and I think they're definitely worth checking out. Now we're going to move on to some authors that I have not read yet, but that I really think I need to read soon, and I think you should check into as well, because I've heard so many good things about them. So here we go. First one being Robin Hobb. I have heard so many good things about the realm of the Elderlings, and the first book being Assassin's Apprentice, following a character named Fitz. It's just talked about so much and so well loved. And you could say, well, maybe it's just overhyped. And maybe it is. I don't know. But everybody talks it up so much that I feel like I should at least give it a shot. And I think maybe you should too. So Robin Hobb is definitely one to read. Cameron Hurley is another one that I've really been wanting to read. She's quite prolific. She's written a lot of nonfiction, a lot of articles in the science fiction and fantasy community, but she's got some fairly well-known series as well. One of her more well-known sci-fi books is called The Stars Are Legion. One series that I've really been wanting to check out is the Mirror Empire series. And I know it's not called the Mirror Empire series, it's called something else, but the first book is the Mirror Empire, and it kind of involves a lot of interaction with doppelgangers. You enter this world where the characters start seeing their doppelgangers, but they, even though they're their doppelgangers, they're like kind of run down, and it's like a deformed version of themselves, and it's just I'm grasping at straws here because I just don't know that much about it, but it looked really interesting to me from the blurb, and so I'm excited to check it out. From my understanding, it pushes a lot of limits on things that are not normally included in a fantasy story, and it subverts a lot of fantasy tropes. So I'm really excited to get to this series and see what it's all about. But Cameron Hurley is another one in my mind to be on the lookout for. Martha Wells is another one. She wrote the Murderbot series. She's probably written other books as well, but I think Murderbot is probably her most famous book series that she's written. And I've been meaning to check out Murderbot. I love satire and absurdist fiction, and so I figured, well, if I like that stuff, I've heard that Murderbot is a great series to go to for that. So R.F. Kuang is another one. She wrote the Poppy War series, and from what I understand, it is a really phenomenal series. I've heard some naysayers on it as well. Some people don't like it that much, but the majority of the reviews I've read are really positive, and I'm pretty curious to check out this series. She's a newer author on the scene, Asian American author, and I just really think it's time for more people to check out her stuff. And one I keep hearing about over and over again is Octavia Butler. I've kind of been on the fence with her. A lot of people like her stuff, but I understand it's more of a alternate history almost. I know it's more sci-fi than it is fantasy, and incorporates kind of like an alternate history. I don't know enough about it to really know if it would be my speed, but I think I still want to at least check out her stuff to see if I like it or not. So Octavia Butler has definitely been on my list of authors to check out, and she probably should be on yours as well. And that concludes my list of female authors that you should be reading. Let me know in the comments down below, have you read any of these authors? Are they not all they're cracked up to be? Or do they live up to the hype and you really think I should read them? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to dialogue with you on that. Let me know some other female authors that you recommend as well if they're not on this list. I'd love to be able to expand my list and look more into other female authors. And make sure to stay tuned. I mentioned it in my previous video, but I am doing a new series called Chaz and Friends. My first episode is going to be with Bryce from Shelf Centered. It's just going to be a one-on-one conversation about all things nerdy. We'll probably talk about books, but we might talk about movies and other stuff as well. So stay tuned for that. You'll get more information about that. You'll probably hear first about the upcoming show on Twitter. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, check me out there. But I'm so excited to talk with Bryce, and I've got more special guests planned coming up in the near future after Bryce as well. And I'm very excited about it, so stay tuned. And make sure you are reading more books, guys. I will talk to you soon.